and welcome to the Gunner Vibe. I'm joined here with me, Rohan, with the new Emery. Thanks, Rohan, for joining his
Yeah.
first few games of Arsenal. Is the second international break in the season already. Arsenal and obviously the rest of the players are going into. It's been an interesting 7 games, 5 wins, 2 draws. He and Man City obviously are the only teams who have not lost a game yet. What are your first thoughts? Well, let's talk about the first thoughts that you had this far.
Yeah, honestly, thanks for having me, man. First thoughts, I would say a pretty good, solid start to the season. When you look at the stats, I was checking Reddit and someone posted saying our stats after 7 games now are exactly the same as 7 games last season. And I think that's very impressive. But this season, you have to also take into account we've already played Spurs and City. We've played Villa, who we lost to twice last season. We don't have our captain, Martin Odegaard. And if you zoom in and you watch our performances over these 7 games, and if you include the Champions League games too, there is a lot to be impressed by. It's a very solid start to the season. We've played some of our biggest oppositions. We've come away with results. We've shown there's different kinds of, like, we can play different ways in each of these games and still get a result. So, on the whole, I'm extremely, extremely happy with this team, extremely proud of the way we've played. And if before the season started, you gave me these 7 fixtures, maybe looking at Spurs away and City away in that week, I would have said 5 wins, 2 draws seems like the right result. It's just unfortunate that we ended up dropping 2 points against Brighton, but we got all 3 against Spurs. So I think on the balance, I think it's pretty fair so far in the
Yeah,
season.
yeah, definitely. And those 2 draws, at least one of the draws against Brighton, shouldn't have been a draw, especially if we had 11 men on the pitch.
I don't know if you're asking me. I don't think the City game should have been a draw either.
True.
But yeah, I think like football is just unfair
Mm.
sometimes, like how things play out. But yeah, generally, like I said, on the balance of how things have played out, this is an incredible base. And like you said, right, it's us and City who are undefeated. They are our biggest opponents this year. I know Liverpool are 1 point ahead, but when you look at the opposition they've played and a new manager, I'm not counting them in the title race for now. So we're keeping pace. We're doing a good job.
Yeah, I was just checking the scores of the Tottenham game. It's always laughable when they lose
Amazing.
games from 2-0.
Amazing. I think this past week, both United and Spurs have seen Arsenal blow a 2 goal lead, and they've done the same thing. United at least got a goal back. Spurs, very, very Spursy on the whole.
Well, let's not talk about those guys because we don't really care about them.
Yeah, wasted time.
But we talked about those that we had in comparison. It looks exactly the same. I was also looking at one of the stats, and it seems like Arsenal do not really dominate games away from home. That wasn't really the case last season. We were barely the same as far as positions and stats are concerned. 3 games, 2 wins, 1 draw away from home this time, and we have about 7 shots or 7 goals, I think, and a lot more goals at home. A lot of position. I think it was like 59% positions as opposed to 56% at home and 39% position away from home. Lots of shots we have tried at home, and obviously the conversion rate is not that great, but we have scored a lot more goals in comparison to other teams. What do you think the challenges Arteta has faced, and why there's a notion of defend first approach, especially away from home this season?
I feel a lot of it comes down to trying to be just solid in our shape away from home. Like, we don't have the Emirates crowd going into these games. And yes, like, a lot of it is biased because 2 of the games were against Spurs and City. And City, what did we have, like 10% possession in that second half?
18, yeah.
And that just like skews all the stats. But that is true. Like, I think my optimistic hope is like when we look at the balance of play over the season and we see all our away games, I think we'll pretty much balance it out and have, more goals scored, better stats. But yeah, 100% looking at the first 7 games, we are kind of not great. Statistically not great away from home. I think it all comes down to trying to be defensively solid. It all comes down to having a shape and style of play away from home and giving opponents nothing. Kind of messed up, I would say. Villa away was the big one last season where we dropped points. And I think Arteta is just taking no chances this season. We are defensively solid. Now he has two new fullbacks, well, Timber coming back in Calafiori, who can solidify the defense as well. We also didn't have Martin Odegaard as our captain and kind of the person who leads the press and kind of carries the ball when we do play. So I think there are a few mitigating circumstances why we are in this position. But yeah, like I feel on the balance of the whole season, I think we'll kind of match our home stats and kind of prove that we are a dominant side, because we honestly have nothing to be afraid of when we look at all these other teams out there as well. What is more, I mean, also concerning to me is our Champions League away form.
Mm.
We did draw to Atalanta, which I felt was a lucky result considering David Raya had to save a penalty. But then going back to last season, we've won, I think, only one game away in the Champions League. So I wonder if part of it is also like we need to have a style of play away from home. And if it's Champions League or Premier League, we just have kind of a solidity that we show, because we've seen if we are naive in the Champions League, we're just going to go out at a very early stage.
Yeah, there is definitely an onus on defending, at least have shape. Getting Calafiori in was important, I feel, at least the season. And you touched upon three away games being those three sides that we tend to struggle with: Aston Villa, Tottenham, and Man City. So it's understandable that we won't be having a lot of possession. But at the same time, especially in this past two games, the Southampton game and the Leicester game, were there any concerns that you had with the way in which we played, allowing the opposition back in? These are teams which we should be comfortably beating. But it
Yeah.
seems like the pace of game and the approach has been a little personally, I guess. I don't know. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
always, you get a notion that something will happen and we don't score early.
Yeah, after the Southampton game, I was just thinking the last three games we've had like 45 minutes of just like dread watching Arsenal play. We had a player sent off at City, and then the second
Mhm.
half was just painful. Against Leicester, I didn't know if we could do it and get a goal back, especially the way their keeper was playing. And then yesterday as well, like I think we dominated the first half and then got that sucker punch goal scored against us. I want to say, like, I want to hope that this is not like a habit or not something that it's kind of ingrained in the way we play, because it hasn't happened a lot. But I felt especially yesterday, we missed Odegaard and we missed someone who could just bring a little bit more to our attacking third play. We did rotate this side a lot.
Mhm.
And if you look at it on paper, you should say like Jesus and Sterling coming in for Martinelli and Trossard should be just as good. But it felt like we were just a little away, like yesterday, from like scoring against Southampton. Like we tried a lot. We tried to go like brute force, dribble past their defenders. We tried to, play cute balls into the box. Like we tried everything we usually try, but I felt like maybe we were like 10% short from getting that goal. And in the meantime, we allowed Southampton in to come in and score. And I think these are some of the principles that we have to try and iron out and just not give opponents a look in. Because last season, like you said, we were like, this didn't happen last season.
Mhm.
We shut out opponents, especially at the Emirates, and we didn't let them play past us. So I think Arteta is definitely going to use this international break as a time to like examine that a little further, see if it comes down to, just fatigue or not having Odegaard and, a completely fit starting 11 in some parts of the pitch. But right now I'm cautious. Like 2 games in a row, it has like piqued my stress about it a little. Going into like the games after the international break, I'm hoping like we don't get to see that, because we have some big games after the break as well, which we just can't let that happen because teams will punish us.
Yeah, we have tough games coming up, especially November, December is going to be difficult, so to speak, at least from a Premier League perspective. We also have tough Champions League games, especially with Inter,
Inter's
that
going to be
we may
big,
have
yeah.
to. So, with the goals that we have conceded, it's a little concerning. Last year, our defense was probably one of the best. We had the most clean sheets.
Yep.
Are you also concerned about the number of chances that we are affording opposition in general this season thus far?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed it, right? I think if we want to, we can really shut out opponents. Like if we want to, like we've shown against Spurs, we've shown against City, who are the two toughest teams that we've played, and Aston Villa too, that we can completely shut them down. When I try to rationalize it in my head, a part of me says the 2 goals against Leicester were kind of lucky, But the goal against Southampton yesterday, like we shouldn't be letting ourselves get bullied by
Mm.
oppositions that way. Like Cameron Archer ran past our entire defense, had the time to cut in onto his right and score. And then even I think around the 78th minute, they had a half chance from a corner. Raya tried to save it, hit two Southampton players, and then hit the post. So I think like maybe we need, as much as we're attacking or being more offensive in our play, maybe we need more midfield solidity. Like we spoke about this earlier as well. Like I wonder if we're committing too much in attack sometimes to try and get a goal, and we're leaving space, because last season, you know, our defensive line was kind of sacred and nothing breached that. Gabriel Saliba have been excellent. I think Thomas Partey, like I've had my doubts about him, but he's been excellent and he's been really good this season too. My
Mm.
fear is just, are we missing some legs at some point in our midfield, which allows opponents to just dribble past us, or we're just like a yard away from like just stopping an attack as it starts. And it's a high pressure system, right? We're playing a very, very high line. So
Mhm.
like if you miss that one tackle, your opponents are in.
Yeah.
So I think players definitely smarter than us, they go into the games knowing that we have to stamp these out. But I wonder if it's like a little bit of just like pace and physicality in that midfield to just stomp it out, which Odegaard brought in tons, right? Like he was
Mm.
like a busy bee. He was always working. He was doing defense and the attacking side of things. Are we asking too much of Trossard and Havertz to step in and keep doing that without like our talisman as part of our squad?
Yeah, with Odegaard gone, like we talked at the start of this call, that Arteta at least seemingly has changed the formation a little bit. Instead of 4-3-3, he have changed it to 4-4-2, which
Exactly.
allows an extra player in midfield, but at the same time, you are kind of having Havertz and Trossard dovetail in the top positions, which, if you really think about it, that was the case even when we had 4-3-3. We used to have Havertz and Odegaard in that role, and
Yep.
Raka and Martinelli taking the flanks.
Yeah, I would definitely, I do want to give a lot of props to Saka and Martinelli for like
Mhm.
their defensive contribution. Like, you know, with Saka, we know that he can, like, he's extremely efficient in attack. He like scores most of our goals. He like provides our assist. He is like kind of like the conduit through everything, through which everything happens on the pitch. But like how much he's shown in defense this season, and he's had a lot of games go in this first part of the season where he hasn't had too many opportunities to attack. Like against City, against Spurs, even Atlanta, it wasn't like a Saka game for him to just, you know, show his attacking playmaking abilities on the pitch. Like he had to just be very solid, very defensive. He had to do a job. And he did that. Like he does everything you ask of him. And then he provides the corner assist for Gabriel to score. So like it's amazing just how much work Saka is putting in into this side in elements of play which are just not his forte either.
Well, yeah, I mean, Saka was a left back, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
now he is playing a different role altogether. I think he has shown how important he is. That he's like a talisman for this team. Like he's the one, regardless of who was in our attacking third, he's the one who was going to create them. I was also impressed with, like you mentioned, Martinelli. You could actually see the difference between when Sterling was in attack, and obviously it was Sterling's first start for Arsenal, and
Yep.
when Martinelli and Trossard came in. There was a change in vibe across the Arsenal front line, and how Martinelli has also got that extra pace. I mean, until maybe 2 weeks ago, we probably won't be talking about Martinelli in such positive vibes as far as his scoring and his way he attacks the
It is
fullbacks now.
it is a confidence play, right? Like
Mhm.
the first few games of the season, you're like, he's trying a little too hard. Like some of the, I would say, like complaints that people have against Gabby Jesus right now, many of them had against Martinelli at the start of the season, where it's like, oh, he's trying too much, it's just not coming off. Like his passes are lacking something, and he's just not beating that last man. But he assisted against City, and
Mhm.
ever since, you know, he's had a goal and assist contribution in every game.
Yeah.
So he is a you know, just confidence player, and like that, when he got that confidence, he's just booming now. And you saw it like yesterday when he came on the pitch as well. Well taken goal, extremely well taken goal.
I was surprised that they took so long for the VAR. We could actually see there is a player whose leg was on that grass. So it was
Yeah.
interesting why VAR took that long. It was like They wanted somehow not to give a goal to Arsenal or send off
It,
a player.
I wasn't even surprised. It's like, yeah, VAR check against Arsenal. Like, this is going to take like ages, and then there won't be a conclusive result.
Yeah. We have those goals. We have Saka to thank for our creativity. He's probably one of the most creative players that we have, not just Arsenal, but for England and through the league. There was a Reddit post where I think it was Jimmy O'Hara was comparing Palmer and Saka. And it looks like he's just trying to poke some fire just to get some Arsenal fans riled up. But what do
Yeah.
you feel considering both players play kind of the same position for England and are very good at creating chances, scoring goals?
Honestly, my heart is with Saka. And I think he's unbelievable and has been for so many seasons now. Considering the kid who, like you said, was playing left back with 87 on his jersey, and now he's Arsenal's number 7. Like, he's come a very long way, and I think clubs are or fans are always attached to the players that come out of their clubs. What I will say about Saka is that every season that we watched him play, he has improved over the last season. He gets better every single time. He tries more every single time, and just the way he carries the team, like we said, like he does a defensive contribution and an attacking contribution, which I don't think Palmer does. And like, I didn't think Palmer would be this good when he moved from City to Chelsea. He's been excellent. He's been really good. He's been had a great attacking contribution. But when you compare that with Saka and what he does on both sides of the pitch, he's a top assister in the league right now. He creates goals, he scores goals, he makes everything happen. He's our set piece taker. He's our captain. I just think he's the much better player. And if I have to be very honest, I don't know with England's managerial changes how that's going to go down, but I think Saka keeps his place in the England starting lineup. Like, I think anyone who like really watches football sees how much he brings to the pitch, and like he has to be the first player on the team sheet.
Yeah, I mean, both players are impressive. If I had a choice, and if we had a choice, sorry, that's my kid.
No, all good.
I would have probably had Palmer in my team as well, maybe as a striker.
Yeah.
But I had a couple of questions, but you have questions, go for it.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, do you want to rate our signings this season? So we can just do like a quick fire. I'll read off the names of the players and you give me a rating on 10 for how they've been this season. Do you want to start with Calafiori?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Calafiori thus far. I think if I have to rate him, he would be probably 7.5 ish.
Okay.
Not saying that he's bad. In fact, a couple of tackles that he had yesterday, where he was on the ground and he would still get up and get an attack going, is really impressive. There's still some rough edges on him. Like in the first half, I think I forget the name of the Southampton player. He ran past Calafiori easily. Even in the Man City game, Silvinho, I think, ran past
Hakimi as well.
Yeah.
When we play PSG.
Yeah. So there is a little bit of concern there from a defensive perspective. I was thinking about this, whether I would start Calafiori against Liverpool or would we go with Timber there?
Yep.
I might go with Timber, but
Interesting.
still, I'm really impressed the way he has defended. There's still some improvements that he can make, but he can play both roles, like a regular left back and also the.
Your kid also agrees, I hear.
Yeah.
Like a new signing, but David Raya. He was on loan last season. Now he's a permanent signing. So I also want you to rate him.
He has been really impressive, to be honest. Until I would say the Man City game, he was our player of the season.
Yeah.
Since then, he has let go some goals, but nothing that he can really do on any of them. I would say probably is closer to 9.5, if not 10. He's been pretty perfect.
Raya is like a 9 for me too as well.
Yeah.
Do you want to pause for a second? Do you want to keep going?
Oh, we're good.
We're good?
Usually in my videos sometimes.
Okay. Mikel Merino. He's made 2 appearances so far. It's very early, but what do you think so far?
He's It's too early to give a rating per se. I won't be I won't be harsh on him. It's just a couple of games he has done pretty well, especially the game against Southampton. He was decent. Wasn't that impressed with the game in the previous game
Yeah,
against PSG, but
like
that
a few
was
minutes, right? He
yeah.
barely came on.
Yeah, and had not played, and he didn't have a preseason either
Yeah,
with Real Sociedad. So I would probably give him a 4 out of 10 for now. I think he's going to be a very very important part of our squad. The reason being, like you mentioned, and I think Martinelli also mentioned in his post game interview yesterday that pass from Saka has been used in training so many times,
yeah,
which leads me to believe that Arteta expects Mourinho to be on that cross.
yeah. He,
So
he was the other person in the box yesterday. Like,
it would be Marino, there will be Havertz, there's Martinelli running on the back. So we already have a pretty tall team, and also having Marino getting on the end of those crosses, I think will be very impressive.
yeah, tall player FC. Finally, Raheem Sterling.
And he has not played much. He played against Bolton and he scored his goal. Today, a lot of Arsenal supporters would say he's been not that great, especially when they compare with the impact that Martinelli made. I would rate him up maybe around 6 out of 10 for now, but I think he is going to be very, very important as well.
Yeah, I'll also go 6 so far. I like what I see from Sterling. I think he's energetic and he adds a lot. No rating for Neto, unfortunately. He
Yeah.
hasn't played for us. But yeah, so I would say on the whole, like some pretty good signings we've had. And like they're slowly making their impact and we're kind of saving them for the rest of the season too.
We need that anyways because last season we didn't have a lot of rotation. It's
Yeah.
mostly on Arteta now that we have a good team, good subs as well. I think we will be able to get
Yeah.
get minutes in the belt for other players. And this game, especially the Southampton game, proved that Arteta is open to that,
Yeah.
giving minutes to Gabriel and also was hoping that he gave some minutes to in Waneri, but
Yeah.
maybe there is more games coming up where he will
I
get
was
a
hoping for
chance.
that too yesterday. A little sad that we didn't get to see him, but yeah, like I'm also glad that Arteta is now rotating the team a lot more. Like we've also seen Saka come off like at
Mm.
70 minutes for like multiple games, and I think we've not had that for a couple of years at least with
Mm.
him in our starting 11. So I'm glad it's going to be a long season, so we need to save legs until the
Yeah,
end. Cool. I did have another quick fire for you,
yeah.
but
Let's do
unless you
it.
had something first.
No, go for it.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you like yes or no questions, and then you give me your thoughts. So Kai Havertz, will he score 20 plus goals this season?
Yes, I would really hope so. I get this feeling that Arteta will change his formation again when Odegaard comes back.
Right.
I would expect Havertz to be up top, and Mourinho be the left eight, like you mentioned, and Rice be the sixth. If
Yeah.
that is the case, there is going to be more opportunities for Havertz. If you see the numbers from last season, he just played maybe the last 19 or less games uh, as a striker, and he scored what 13 goals, 7 assists. So
Yeah,
as
and
a
7 and
striker,
7,
yeah. So
7 and
he's
7 at the Emirates. Yeah.
yeah. So I would say he's definitely going to be that 20 goal striker that we need.
On the other end of the pitch, David Raya had 16 clean sheets last season.
Mm.
Do you think he's gonna get to 19 this season?
It's tough the way we are conceding goals. It's a little bit of we have like I think 2 3 clean sheets thus far out of 7 games. So our answer is no. I hope he can at least match that 16 clean sheets as last season.
He could have had 2 more already if the Leicester and Southampton game went differently, for sure. And Bukayo Saka, do you think he's going to hit 30 goals and assists this season? Also, to give you context, the last Arsenal player to do that was Alexis Sanchez, I think in 2016-17. So it's been 7-8 years since anyone's done that for Arsenal.
It is possible. It depends how many assists he makes. Because the last time player for Arsenal who made 20 assists was Thierry Henry back
Yep.
in 2024 and 2004. Sorry, no other player across the Premier League has had that many assists. So he can provide assists. He can make it if Odegaard is not there. Now, when Odegaard comes back in, Whether Salah has that opportunity to create those assists, I don't know. I think it may be that he can score more goals. Assists might be more of an Odegaard thing. So I would probably say no, but I'm hopeful that he can at least get close to 20 goals and
Okay.
assists.
So yes for 20, no for 30.
Yeah.
30 is he's right now the top assister in the Premier League with
Mm,
7, I think,
7.
and
Yeah.
2 goals. And who is your player of the season so far? It's only 7 Premier League games. I think overall we played like 10 games all in the season, but
Mm,
we are like 12% of the way through the season. So
yeah.
way too early, but who's your player so far?
Like I said, until the Man City game, I would probably give Raya as our player of the season. He had not had a goal saving or penalty saving goalkeeper for a while. So having Raya save that penalty against Atlanta was huge.
Yeah.
Plus, the saves that he has made this as far as the season has been really good. If he wasn't there, I think we probably would have seen a draw against Wolves, probably a draw or loss against Aston Villa, because the context of when those saves were made was
Yeah.
also important. So I would probably still give Raya as our player of the season. Or obviously Raya and Havertz would be close second and third.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with you there. I think Raya, on the balance of everything that's happened, is my player of the season so far
Hmm.
as well. And then maybe Saka, number
Yeah,
2, and Kai Havertz.
I just have to give a caveat. I hope that is not the case because I that would mean
Yeah.
that we'll be so much in pressure for the rest of the season if Raya has to be the player of the season. But we'll
Yeah.
see.
The good thing with this Arsenal side is we've seen different players step up at different times. So,
Mhm.
we may have like a phase where it's all, I don't know, Declan Rice who's
Mhm.
just like leading this team, which is good. Like we can split the work around and have kind of different heroes at different points.
One, I mean, it has nothing to do with the season, but there was a lot of clamor this summer about Arsenal signing a striker. In fact, we did a bid for Benjamin Sheshko. That didn't happen. I mean, I've talked to a lot of Arsenal fans, and literally everyone, maybe 90% of them, wanted a striker. How do you feel now that we are 7 games in? We need a striker, maybe in the January transfer window or even next summer.
I would still say yes. We do need a striker. I love Kai Havertz, and the way things are right now, I want him to be our starting number 9, our starting forward in most of our games. I just feel we need another player there. Like we have Raheem Sterling, but given the way he's played, we really change up the way we play when he starts on the left. And then Jesus as well. Like we've seen, like he's been trying really hard to score a goal. He hasn't been there. And I think most of Arteta's calculation would be we have Jesus who can play there. We have Trossard who's been immense playing there as well. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes having that variety up front, having like a different kind of player playing there, it would make the difference. Should it be like a Sesko or a Gyökeres who's now having a great season, and I'm sure his like transfer value next summer would be double, 100 plus million for sure. Should it be someone of that ilk? I don't know. I would probably hope we go for someone who's like a second striker or like a sub that we can bring on. But I definitely think we need more there. I also had concerns, do we need like an Odegaard backup? But
Mhm.
I think we've done well without him so far. We've just changed the way we played. And I guess like you can't have an Odegaard backup generally. But Waneri's done well when he's played there. And we've had like, we've played, like you said, 4-4-2. So short of it, Arteta, please get a striker, spend more money on our
Yeah,
attacking line.
yeah. I mean, we had a pretty balanced summer, which was expected. We sold a lot of players. We also got a lot of players. Although, if you see the balance sheet, it's probably like $5 to $10 million that Arsenal spent, and we'll obviously be getting some money from our participation in the Champions League and how far
Yeah.
we go in the Premier League. Hopefully, that gives us enough money to purchase a striker.
Yeah.
But
The
in
way this market
contrast,
is,
yeah.
yeah, the way this market is, I think like we would end up spending minimum 60 million on even like a backup striker. Like especially if you buy from the Premier League, it's like 60.
Mm.
And I don't think we're looking at the Ollie Watkins level of striker because I think that's way too expensive, and I don't think those players immediately start for this side.
I don't expect Arsenal to sign a striker who starts every game right away,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. Or it goes both ways, right? If you think about it, a couple of seasons ago when Arsenal signed Gabriel Jesus, we expected Nketiah to be the backup striker.
That's
And
true.
now Jesus is a backup striker to Havertz. But then it could be if there could be a transition season where Havertz becomes a backup striker to the striker that Arsenal wants. Like Man City has Haaland.
Yeah.
We may not find a Haaland, but we may find a striker that actually works for Arteta. I don't know if Arteta really needs a striker thus far, but
Yeah.
that could be the change. And you also pointed out a couple of areas that we are quote unquote weak, where if Saka goes down, we don't really have it like for like replacements. If Odegaard goes down, we now have to change our formation. So
Yeah.
there's that to me is more of a priority immediately than a striker. But I don't know if anyone will come to Arsenal knowing that they'll be second choice. So
Yeah. But we know Arteta can be ruthless and players lose their spot in the team if he finds an upgrade, like Ramsdale was at the Emirates this season, but on the other side. So yeah, definitely. I think that's the case. But I kind of trust at this point Arteta and Edu to make like the right choice with who we bring in and like that person's abilities to make an impact. Arun, I also wanted to ask you. So we spoke about 5 wins, 2 draws being right for Arsenal. We have another 7 games before our next international break. So I'm going to ask you to make some predictions for us so that we can catch up at the next November international break and see how things played out. I'll go with the EFL Cup because there's only one game, Preston away there. Win, loss? What do you think?
we should be able to win that game. I would expect some rotation for sure.
I'm writing these down, so I'll hold you accountable to these. Then let's go to the Champions League. 2 games in the Champions League. Shakhtar away, Shakhtar at home, and then Inter away. How many points?
I would expect 4 points, a win against Shakhtar, and hopefully a draw against Inter.
You know what? I'm gonna go 6. I'm gonna go 6 for 6.
The only reason I said 4 points is because of the away
Away.
form that Arsenal had against Champions League opponents this last year, and I hope that carries. I hope Arsenal do not lose against Inter. That's all I can hope for at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Premier League, we have 4 games in the Premier League. Bournemouth away, Liverpool at home, Newcastle away, and Chelsea away. So just 1 home game and 3 away games in the Premier League. Let's go game by game. Bournemouth away. What do you think?
I'm hoping for a win.
Yeah.
I don't know about the scoreline, but at least 1 or 2 win against Bournemouth.
Liverpool at home.
There's Champions League in between. I think there's a Shakhtar game.
I think it's the Shakhtar game, yeah, in between.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy. Just because this is Slot's first game and first tough game, I would say. I won't consider a Man United game as a tough game for Liverpool. Liverpool or Arsenal have to compete against Man City, and Liverpool being the title challengers, they have to beat Liverpool in my opinion. So
yep, 3 points there too. Newcastle away. I think this game comes after the Preston game.
Yeah, I think we should be able to win. This was the game which controversially we lost, the disgrace game that Arteta said last season. Arsenal should have won that game. To be honest, we had a lot of chances and we just didn't put past Newcastle. This season, Arsenal is even better than we were last season, so I would expect Arsenal to win.
And Newcastle haven't been great this season either. Like they drew to Everton yesterday. Yeah, so that's 3. I agree. And then we discussed the Inter away game and then Chelsea away, who, believe it or not, are 4th right now. So
yeah, I think you're right. Again, this is not an easy game by any stretch. Chelsea, they drew, I think, against Forest, despite Forest being 10 men. So
10 men.
They have a lot of attacking talent. It's like you sub someone and there is another attacker comes in. But their defense is not great. I feel like this might be a game, hopefully not like last season where we drew 2-2. It would be a narrow win for Arsenal.
Okay, narrow win. Okay, so pretty confident. You're going for 6 wins and 1 draw out of all competitions. I think I'm gonna like agree with you there. Like I think also if you want to win the league, you have to win these games in whatever order they come, and we'll probably see the impact of rotating and kind of subbing in and having Sterling and Jesus and all of these other players start from time to time, give our players a bit more of a boost when they're playing these bigger games. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to hold you accountable to these. My predictions are pretty much the same. I think we're just going to win the Inter game too. So I'm just going for 7 out of 7. So I shouldn't
Yeah.
be talking right now.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, it would be really impressive, to be honest. 7 out of 7, especially with those tough run-up fixtures that we have, is it's going to be an amazing results for Arsenal. Plus, after the international break, I think in December we have games against Man United also coming up, which is, I know they are poor now, but I get the feeling that Man U will improve after the international break. So we'll see how that goes.
I have like a strong opinion. I think like Ten Hag is going to get fired. Even though they drew this today, I think he's going to get sacked this week.
Yeah, I don't think so, to be honest. There's way too much pressure on Man United to do better, especially
Yeah.
with the signings that they've made. I don't think they can go gung ho on buying a Ten Hag. I mean, I know Van Nistelrooy is a good backup if they have to keep
Yep.
a coach, but I don't think Ten Hag being fired will happen until at least January.
Let's find out.
Maybe that's another thing that I know it's not an Arsenal thing, but that's another thing that you can keep me accountable for.
Yeah.
But I think we can wrap up our first part of the season talk and let the viewers know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow my YouTube channel at Ennui Emery. We'll leave the link in the description of this video too. And yeah, like thanks for having me on. This is always fun to chat with another Booner.
Yeah, thanks, Ron, joining me, and thanks, guys. If you like this discussion, please like and subscribe, and follow Ron's channel, Anyway Emery. I'll post it in our description as well. So thanks again, and come on, you Gunners.
Thank you. See ya.